So where I left off was the
All right, let me put yourself full screen and finish it.
all right. So you have the situation where people observe something that happens, usually some kind of crime, and everybody watching it assumes that somebody else is going to do something about it. So I mean that I think was part of what happened, and also what I was saying is that when it's crazy enough, people try to you're watching it and you think there must be some rational explanation for what I'm seeing, and the most common with the Oscars was that must be a bit or something like that. Um, but I've had situations where I was out in Delray. It was actually it was on Thanksgiving Eve, and this guy there was these two people getting in a fight, and everybody's just standing around, just like recording it, like you were saying, with their phones. And I mean, this is a real fight they're watching. A guy could have a gun. You don't know what's going to happen, but everybody's just kind of watching it as if it's entertainment. So I think there's two separate things. One is that everybody's frozen, thinking that somebody else is going to do something about it. And number two is that we're watching these things as entertainment, that somebody is actually being hurt, but it's also shocking and interesting. So we're watching it, from an entertainment standpoint. And let's be honest, Nick, this helped their ratings. 555,000 people tuned in after that happened. 500,000 people. The ratings went up 500,000 people. We're talking about it right now because of that. We haven't even said anything. I don't even know who won at the Oscars besides him. We're talking about the show because of that. Now he's going to go on Jada's show on Facebook Watch, and people are going to talk about that and watch that. So this was actually, and Chris Rock, let's talk about Chris Rock. His ticket prices went up from the minimum of $60-something a ticket to now the minimum is like $200 a ticket, 200
Oh
something.
yeah, I saw that. Like his shows just started selling out. Like he's been touring, and it's been like whatever.
Yep.
Like normal Chris Rock for the last 10 years. Nothing crazy. It's not like he was in the 90s. And now he's sold out everywhere.
So this benefited everyone involved.
Yeah. And what I am going to be really disgusted about, just given my personality, is that when they spin it in the next week or two, they're probably both going to come out together, and Chris Rock is going to say, "Oh, you apologize to me. We're friends. I made a mistake." And he's going to apologize. Will Smith's going to apologize. And they're going to do some bullshit. Like they'll be in a movie together or something, and they'll monetize it. But in reality, it's like,
yep.
It was just, like that's how Hollywood is. Like that's the whole point. A lot of these comedians that talk about Hollywood being disgusting.
But then they also want to take the moral high ground,
right,
and preach to the public, preach to everyone about everything under the sun. I've said that about Harvey Weinstein. They'll talk, they'll talk about women, women's rights and all that stuff. But I don't know anywhere that's more chauvinistic than Hollywood, and they're just as behind as a lot of places, if not more so. So I think when people say that they don't have a right to stand and preach to people, I think that's where it comes from. It's like you're not practicing what you preach. You're saying the right things, but you're really not doing anything. And everybody wants to act, oh, I didn't know that was going on. Oh, I didn't know. Oh, come on. Nobody ever knows anything, right? It's like with when Tupac,
it wasn't me.
When Tupac got shot in the middle of the Vegas Strip, nobody saw anything, right?
Oh, come on.
Nobody saw anything.
Saw me fucking on the counter. Wasn't me. And then she saw me on the sofa. Wasn't me. And then we took it in the shower. Wasn't me. Like, get that. It's crazy that song from when we were in high school is literally the soundtrack to America right now.
Yeah. People do not, and I've said it on my show the other day, that people don't want to say things that are uncomfortable or that they want to, that people might not like. They don't want to take a stand. They want to just say what everybody else wants them to say, so that they won't take any heat for it, and nobody wants to actually say the truth about anything anymore.
I've been guilty I'm guilty of that just talking to you in the last like month.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, hey, look, here's a post I'm gonna do. Here's a topic I'm gonna do. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know. And then you're like, dude. And I'm like, all right. I don't know.
I think when you do a show, when I started doing the show a month and a half ago, I felt the eye. You know, you feel the eyes on you. You feel that invisible audience. You know, God, I look. This camera makes me look like I'm sunburned.
Yeah.
Um,
There you go.
uh,
Still look sunburn, but
you
it's a
feel
little
it,
red.
and I think at a certain point, well, it won't matter for people listening on radio. So, but or over their radio on in their car.
That's right.
Well, when you do this show, or when you do any show, I think when you start out, you feel that heat, like, oh, I don't want to say anything that could rub anybody the wrong way. And then after you do it a little bit, you realize if I don't say anything that rubs people the wrong way, I'm not even doing a show.
Yeah.
I'm just nothing. I mean, it's nothing.
And I think that's kind of like it, at least specifically with like me and you doing two different shows, and you know, you do multiple shows, I do multiple shows. And I think that's been like one of our contentions.
Absolutely.
And never in like a bad way, but it's always like it's conversation always comes up. And I think you're absolutely right. Like I think I need to take a taste of your medicine and just be like, fuck it. But what I guess
Not
what
too,
I've
not too much. Not too much. Don't get canceled. Not too much.
Canceled. I guess everyone's gonna get canceled. But I'm always taking it like, because I watch a lot of shows and I watch a lot of podcasts, and like I work from home, so it's like I always got stuff going in the background while I'm doing my thing. And it's like, yeah, like how do you navigate this stream? But I think it really comes down to like you can't. Like you have to just say what you're going to say, and there's going to be same thing with this particular thing. 85% of the people are going to be like, yeah, I agree with you or whatever, and 15% of the people are going to be like, fuck you, you're like way off topic, or like you're offensive or whatever. But it is what it is. It's like, just say how you feel. It is. And here we go, we came back to it an hour later.
Okay, boomer.
Boomer. Yeah. I love that when people are like, you're a boomer. Yeah. I'll put some gray in my beard. I don't mind.
We are two proud old millennials. We're more Gen X, I think. But
I don't know the difference. All I know is that
that's something a Gen X would say.
Don't label me, dude.
Oh,
don't label me. You don't know my label.
I know. I don't. Bearded guy. You're bearded. You're the bearded guy. You have a beard. That's your thing. Like bearded guys can get away with it. Like, oh, he's got a beard, so you're just automatically cool because you have a beard. That's how it works.
Yeah, I had this joke like 10 years ago before beards were a thing. I was like, yeah, why don't you have your boyfriend shave his beard? And like the joke was, once your boyfriend shaves his beard, all of a sudden he's a black guy, because the beard is like such a it hides you so much that like, I shave it, I'm like, all of a sudden, hey, I'm a black guy. Like, I didn't know that.
My grandma can't understand why guys that have these big beards have no hair on their head. I think that's an interesting observation. It's weird, right? I don't know how. It's a weird DNA thing, because I can't grow a beard, but I have, I have hair.
That's interesting. You can't grow a beard.
Not like you. No.
You know what's funny is like I heard somebody say this like, oh God, it must have been 10, 12 years ago.
And you are not G.I. Jane, by the way. So
I am not G.I. Jane. No, dude, I'm not. I am not Demi Moore. I am not 50 years old banging 24-year-old Ashton Kutcher. I wish I was.
Right.
I would be gay for that fucking $100 million he has.
Yeah, right.
XRP, baby. Let's go.
Yeah.
But I think it's funny because I heard someone say like, oh man, you made me lose my train of thought because you knocked me off the path. Whatever. Let's move on.
It'll come back one day.
It'll come back.
But either way, yeah. So I don't even know what we were talking about. The beard. I knocked myself off the path here.
That's the beauty of it.
The beard thing, and We were talking about how people can't say, anything anymore, and how you feel like you have to, you try to navigate, this whole arena. And
Yeah,
there really is. Oh, that's what I was going to say about it, right? What does being canceled even mean, right? Louis C.K. was canceled. Now he's back.
terrible.
You know,
He had no reason to be canceled.
and
Hold on, hot take. I got a button for it.
Hot take.
yeah, I don't, so what does it even mean? Because a lot of these guys, they get canceled and they come back, and they didn't ever even have any repercussions. Dave Chappelle had a performance where he talked about the difference between perception and reality. That when everybody was talking about Wesley Snipes and all the trouble he was in, he ran into Wesley Snipes at a party. So the perception can be one thing. So the perception could be like with Chris Hardwick. Oh, he was going through all that stuff. When the reality is, he got $10 million to leave that job, and he's probably somewhere in Aruba or somewhere living his best life. So, but the news makes it look like, it makes it look like he's going through, all this stuff, when really his life is perfectly fine. So what does canceled even mean if you don't have social media?
Well, canceled kind of means, I mean, it's in my opinion, and I'm wrong about everything, but canceled is when you have like, you're like top of the line, like you made it, like you spent 15, 20 years of your life grinding for something, and every night, like Louis C.K., he spent every night for 20 years at comedy clubs in New York, at Caroline's, at the Basement, at the Comedy Cellar, like every night. And he gets canceled. And he wasn't like an A-lister. He was like a C-lister, maybe. He wrote on 30 Rock. He wrote on SNL. Like, he was behind the scenes a lot. And they canceled him for, I mean, if you want to talk about it, I don't necessarily want to talk about what he was canceled for, but essentially he asked the women if it was okay for him to do what he was going to do.
Right.
And they said, yeah. And when it came out, they canceled him because they're like, oh, that was like sexual assault or whatever. But it's like, no. Like, people would come back to his room. He'd say, is it okay if I do this? This is what I want to do. They'd say yes. And I think people were just so disgusted by the act that they canceled him. It's not, he never touched them. He never put his hands where he shouldn't put his hands. He never forced himself on anyone. But it was just the act, and people canceled him. And who canceled him?
Right.
Most people that are Louis C.K. fans don't care.
I mean, it actually tied into his act. I mean, it was pretty much who we thought he was. I wasn't really shocked, to be honest.
Right, but it's like, who can't? Like, he was only big in stand-up, and people still go and see his stand-up. I would still go and see his stand-up. Yeah, I've seen him in stand-up. Like, that's if you ever watch. Listen, if you ever wanna like. If you could take your head out of it, the people that think he was wrong, and maybe he was, I don't know. I'm not that guy. I'm not God or whoever. But if you ever watch the show Horace and Pete that he wrote and he was in with Steve Buscemi, it is one of the most amazing shows about mental illness. Has nothing to do with him. It's all about his characters. And it's about like kind of, have you ever seen it?
I don't think so.
The show it's called Horace and Pete, and it came out like a year after this all happened. And it's about basically Louis C.K. buys a bar that he worked in, and one of the characters, Steve Buscemi, loses his mind.
Love Steve Buscemi.
And winds up, like, because of his mental illness, winds up killing Louis C.K. And it's a show about his Steve Buscemi's like descent into darkness, being mentally ill. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful, beautiful show. And it shines a lot of light on mental illness. But people just didn't watch it because they're like, oh, Louis C.K. jerks off in front of comedians after he got their permission. It's like,
Yeah.
okay. I don't know.
There's
Like,
a lot of this forced kind of forced disgust, like I don't think the Louis C.K. thing, a lot of people I don't think cared, but they felt like they had to act like it was the worst thing they've ever heard in their life. I'll bring it back to the theme of the episode, which was the Will Smith incident. So I read a comment where people brought up, well, this is toxic masculinity. You knew that was going to come up about the situation. As soon as he did what he did, you knew they were going to try to say that. I mean, I don't know why something can't just be he did something he shouldn't have done. Or why does it have to be all men? Now this is all men now, right?
No, why can't it just be toxic?
Right. But here's my thing. Why would anybody try to cut her out of what went down? You could try to say, put it on Will Smith. But if it was just Will there sitting by himself, he would not have done that. You cannot take out the context that he knew that she expected him to do something in defense of her. That's not coming from nowhere. Men are not like being born going like, oh, I have to, I'm this toxic, whatever. I don't know. Like, I'm a man, I'm toxic. I have to, rock. Let me pick up rock, smash rock. No, it's coming from somewhere that you grew up and you go, oh, the guys that are wusses, the women don't want to go out with them. The women want to go out with the guy that they feel is going to defend them. And that's how a guy like Will Smith gets to where he got and where he meets women and he marries Jada Pinkett Smith. And there's an expectation that in their relationship that like, oh, you're going to let him talk about me like this right now. That wasn't just the man deciding to do something like, I'm a man, I'm going to show him. That was coming from a relationship between the two of them.
That's 20 years of her on her ass or on his ass about like letting things slide. And then I honestly don't understand it. Like I wish I knew more of the context because
the context is she was going to hammer him when they got home.
Yeah, but I mean, still, like, man, you're 30, 40 yards away, and you're gonna. She looks at you funny, and you walk up there and you smack another person.
I mean, how do you not have thinner skin being in Hollywood, for that long? That's what I don't get. Like,
it takes a lot. I don't know how many fights you've ever been in. I haven't been in that many fights because I'm usually the antagonist.
Yeah,
but it takes a lot for most people to swing on somebody. Yeah. Now, there's people with personalities that aren't Will Smith that you say hello to them and they'll hit you or whatever. Like there's people that are like that quick. Will Smith's not that guy, right? That's the whole issue is that he's like the most wholesome dude in Hollywood, right? And he slowly walks up, hits Chris Rock, slowly walks back, and then talks shit. Like there's something major going on in his life, and it might be his wife, and it might be the situation that they've been in the last couple of years with her banging all these rappers or whatever the hell's going on. But that is like, it's definitely out of character for most people. So
I'm just tired of them because, before it came up about how his son, that they didn't believe in, and I'm not trying to go down this road too far.
Okay.
But the whole gender thing, that they were okay with him wearing skirts and they were fine with, they were gender fluid, which I support, right?
Sure.
So, they're very much like, in that route, right? But then when it came to this, they went a whole different direction with falling into all those stereotypes of men and all that. I don't think this was the liberal reaction, is what I'm saying, is to do what he did. He didn't. if someone else did what he did, this is what I'm saying. If somebody else did what he did, him and Jada would be condemning it. That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying.
If me and you were sitting next to them and someone said something slick about me or the girl I was with, or you were sitting next to me and someone said something slick about your wife and you walked up and slapped him, it's completely different.
She would have been the one saying toxic masculinity
Right.
and all this stuff. But
They
because
would have burning you down. They would have released a press statement saying like, this is not like we're here for the basically what everyone else has been saying. Like, this is the biggest night of a lot of people's lives, and it was ruined by John going up and slapping somebody over a dumb joke.
Yep.
Because it's Will Smith. That, you know, it's barely being talked. Well, it is definitely being talked about, but it's barely being like put in that context. I don't know, man. Like, to me, and you're the psychologist, you're the one that works on this kind of stuff. I kind of feel like he had a mental break, and it was like, come on, you know what I mean? Like,
I mean, the way he was yelling was pretty intense.
yeah, there was definitely. Listen, if you're gonna, and I'm only saying this because, like I told you, I bartended forever and ever and ever, and I've seen it 100 times. The only way you're gonna hit somebody or say something to somebody or smack somebody or put them in their place and be like, this is enough, and then sit back down and talk shit is if there's history. Like, there had to be, there's something behind it with Chris Rock. Like, and we talked about a little bit earlier, like Chris Rock made fun of him a couple years ago, and you know, and I think a lot of people aim at Will and Jada just because they're like the biggest and the most wholesome, and their relationship has always been like you know, like when Brad and Angelina were big, you know,
Right.
it was like the relationship to like be, and I don't know, man. There must be something there. There had to be. He must have another issue with Chris Rock, and then that was it. Like, there has to be something else.
I'm just tired of them. I mean, it was everything with their kids and then everything with their sex life. And now this, I hope, I mean, we've talked about them in this episode and I love it and we had to, but I really am tired of them. Like, I hope after this, they don't have to be normal, but can you just leave the rest of us alone?
You're right. I don't think the words Will Smith have come out of my mouth in 10 years before Sunday. Like, everything he's done since Independence Day has been terrible.
Yeah.
Or like, okay. Like, I just don't care.
Right.
I actually liked his kid in the Karate. Everyone burned that Karate Kid movie. I actually liked Jaden, and I thought it was decent. But other than that, like, there's nothing Will Smith has done that I saw Ali. He was great. Cool.
Yeah. No, I loved Pursuit of Happiness. That was very good.
Oh, I love that. And I like that one. And I love 7 Pounds. 7 Pounds, one of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
But aside from that, like, Will Smith is just, a movie pops up every month on Netflix, and it is what it is. I don't give a fuck. Like,
but I want to come back to what you said earlier that I thought was a great point.
okay, I said something great.
You did.
Write it down. Write it down.
In between the smoking and drinking, you mentioned how, because I don't disagree with you all the time either. I get wanting to keep things light. People have a lot of stress in their life. You know, they want to hear fun stuff too. I get that. So I liked your point that in the 90s, this shit didn't happen. Like, I don't remember Christopher walking on the stage and, or Denzel Washington or Morgan Freeman. I mean, it just didn't happen.
Yeah, Jack Nicholson wasn't slapping motherfuckers around.
No, he was in sunglasses. He was smiling. Billy Crystal was on stage. It was terrific.
Right.
You know, I just wonder how much of today's culture is influencing, like you're saying, did he lose his mind? I don't know. But is there something in people that makes them think I don't know, like, is it that it's okay to do or that they have to do it because it'll get them followers or attention, or I don't know. People didn't feel like they had to go like completely insane. Like it was enough just to make a nice speech back in the day. Like you didn't have to go to the Oscars with no shirt on and half a ball hanging out, you know, whatever. Like you didn't have to. People didn't feel like they had to do that. Like a lot of people would go wearing the same color dress, similar styles. It was kind of probably bland, you know. Oh, whose earrings are those? Oh, it's my grandma's. Oh, cool. I mean, it really wasn't that deep. Where now it's like, oh, Lady Gaga's covered in pig's blood. I mean, something changed.
Did that happen? Or you just made that up?
Actually, she was covered in meat, I think.
Ah, for fuck's sake. Oh, yeah.
Oh
man.
You know, it might have been the.
I'm like, Jesus, you're so fucking. You're good. You should work in Hollywood. Come up with this shit.
That might have been the Grammys, though. But either way, the '90s, like you're saying, it felt lighter. It just felt lighter. I mean, Michael Moore would get on stage about something, and that would be the thing, you know. Or when the Dixie Chicks spoke out
Dude,
about.
Remember when Michael Moore was the most like controversial person because he had like a documentary,
Right?
Oh, and you're like, well,
he would say, "I'm against the war," and that would be the big thing. Now they want, they want the bombing. Like they want to tell Biden where to bomb, who to bomb. Like back then, just saying you're against the war, that was the thing. Now, what's his name? I can't think of his name, but there was the actor that wants to burn his Oscar. He wants to melt his Oscars if they didn't bring the Ukrainian president to the ceremony.
I'll fucking melt it then. Let's see it. Let's see it.
Yeah. If he ain't gonna he's not gonna do it.
You can say it. You can say it. That's fine.
But I thought
let's see you melt it.
It's called melting.
Yeah, I could say a lot of things. I'd like to melt my whole place here if no one sends me $5 on my OnlyFans.
Right.
I'll do it. I'll burn it down. Come on.
I thought that was a great point. Why does everything have to be so serious today? Everything is so politicized. It's so intense. It just felt lighter back then. I thought that was a great point.
Do you know what's wild, dude? Is when I was still in New York. I've been here like 12 years now. When I was still in New York, I was bartending, and I was always a movie buff. Like I don't know anything about sports, but you want to talk about movies, dude? I could tell you the directors, the producers, like whatever. Like that's what I'm into, comic books and movies. Now, obviously, Marvel's huge. Now it's like cliche, but whatever. But 12 years ago, 15 years ago, it wasn't like that. It was like just getting started. And for 5-6 years, I would bet on the Oscars. Like I would, out of the 25 top categories, I would hit 20 to 22 of the winners, and I would bet. I would gamble. I was big into it. I didn't know there was the Oscars, honestly. This week, I had no idea. Like it just,
yeah.
And as someone who's a big fan of this, to not know, maybe I'm disconnected from reality, but at the same time, maybe it's like it's just gotten so stupid that like who gives a fuck? Like they're giving out Oscars, like they're pandering to and it was before the ceremony. They're pandering to like, oh, the coolest scene in a comic book movie, and they're handing out an Oscar to like The Flash or something.
It's turned into the People's Choice Awards.
Yeah, it's like MTV or Nickelodeon. Like, what are you doing? Like
next year they're going to have the what does Nickelodeon have? The what did Double Dare have? The
gag
slime.
The slime, yeah.
They'll start sliming people next year.
They might as well. I mean, if you're gonna slap Chris Rock on stage, you might as well slime him.
Where do we go? That's a good question for you. Where do we go from here?
I mean, in what sense? Like you saw Chris Rock try to like save it, and he's like, "Oh, documentaries and da da da." And you know who won that? Questlove. Questlove won that category.
How about Questlove didn't even see what happened?
Didn't see what happened.
He was meditating at the time.
That's right. One of the greatest musicians to live while we're alive got robbed. He won it, but he got robbed of his like potential spotlight because Will Smith was just wanted to fucking smack somebody.
That's what bothers me about it. That you're taking away other people's moment. Because now you put a pale on the whole show. That's all people are going to talk about. That's all we're talking about.
Mhm.
That's all people are thinking about. And you've just kind of taken other people's moment away. You know,
My question for you is, do you think he should? I mean, I know what I think. Do you think he should have been escorted the fuck out of there, or do you think his Oscar should be taken away? Like,
I
why?
don't think, I hate that. Don't take his Oscar. I don't like when teams take away a championship. It happened. You can't make it unhappen, right?
Okay.
When in the NCAA when they get caught, oh, we're going to take away your banner. Okay, well, it still happened. You can't delete the year, you know.
Right.
Like, or even Barry Bonds, like you can't delete those home runs. They went over the fence. Somebody caught them. They went into the water. They happened. Like, you can't make them unhappen. So he won. I don't think you take his Oscar away. That's just my opinion. You know, I
I
think
think
I think it
they
should have
should
been
have dragged. I think they should have dragged his ass out of there.
it's yeah. I'm wondering how much the racial stuff would have played into if they dragged him out. If that would have people would have felt like no, people are saying that.
Really?
I read a comment. No, that race is involved. Somebody had a comment. Oh, who knows as a black woman, who knows everything Jada has put up with. I'm like, how is this turning into race? Like,
Yeah,
it's not okay for anyone.
Jada's put up with a lot of big black rapper dicks. Is what she's put up with.
But none of it was race related. Nothing Chris Rock said, was
No.
race related.
I mean,
if they had taken him out, they might have said you wouldn't have done this if it was. I'm not saying that it's true, but I'm saying people would have said, well, what if it was Jack Nicklaus? You wouldn't have done that. It would have opened up. I think doing nothing was probably might have been their only option at the time. I don't, because otherwise, who knows what happens when you tackle Will Smith? Is he going to fight security? You could have a whole other. I think they were just waiting to see how Chris Rock handled it.
What?
That's
Okay,
the safest bet.
What if someone from the second level walked up and slapped Chris Rock? They somehow made it down. They made it all the way to the thing, and they went up and slapped Chris Rock. Do you think it would have been the same? Like, oh, it just happened, and they let him go back to his seat?
Yeah, I'm really curious of all the different of how it would have been different. Like, what if it was, I don't. Yeah, I don't know. I think if it was somebody, not even a actor, but what if it was like a writer?
What if it was anyone other than Will Smith? Like if someone literally was sitting in the someone got an invite because they were like a personal assistant to whoever, and they're sitting up in the top row, and they said, you know what, fuck Chris Rock, and they walked all the way up. Do you think they would even made it? I mean, you see people jump into NFL games and they get tackled before they get to whoever. Do you think someone could have like walked up and slapped Chris Rock if it wasn't Will Smith? And do you think they would have left with their jaw intact? Because I feel if anyone other than Will Smith walked up there, they would have been tackled, they would have been drug out, and they would have been charged with all kinds of shit, put in jail for years. Because it was Will Smith.
I really don't have a good answer to that question. I mean, anybody that did that, I guess they could have always cut to commercial. And then, yeah, I mean, really, he should have. How do you let him do that and then let him dance to Jiggy with it after the show? I mean, at least escort him out after the show. They still let him party after the show.
It's unreal. It's unreal.
I do worry. I know it sounds very like an 80-year-old man, conservative kind of thing, but I do worry how the children. I worry about the children, Nick. But I do. If you're a kid, I don't know what message this sends that you can get away with the kind of stuff that people are getting away with. And I don't often agree with Kathy Griffin on a lot of stuff, but she had a point that how many comedians now are going to worry about their audience at their show?
Yeah, they've all posted similar stuff about that. Like, it's not okay for you to rush a stage because you don't like a joke,
right?
And you can't do that.
And nobody. That's the thing. You can't do it, but he did it.
Well, so
so I don't know. I think with all these situations, I think it's important. We're setting a precedent of how people are going to behave. Really, I mean that whether we like it or not, people look at celebrities and mimic them. That's the reality. If they mimic their clothes and they mimic their behavior. And a lot of people look up to Will Smith. So I would not want, I don't know. Like I said, this is the most 2022 thing there ever was. Do you remember Antonio Brown taking his shirt off at the Jets game? Do you remember that?
The guy in Tampa Bay?
Yeah, my buddy was at that game. He quit the team in the middle of the game.
Yep.
He took his pads off, took his shirt off, and walked out. The security didn't tackle him. He was running around in the end zone. So you made a good point. If that was a fan that took their shirt off and ran in the end zone, they would have been tackled and escorted out and probably arrested.
For sure.
But Antonio Brown took his shirt off, ran around in the end zone, did jumping jacks, and people took selfies, with him behind them,
That's right.
So, yeah, I mean, the show could have been 2 minutes because basically he should have been escorted out and arrested.
Yeah.
But what's the fun in that?
He 100% should have been arrested. That's like, if it wasn't a ploy, they should have taken Will Smith out of there. Fuck him. If you win the Oscar, it'd be like, oh, he's in jail for being a dickhead. We'll send him his Oscar to the LA County Jail.
Yeah.
Enough about these motherfuckers.
Enough.
These motherfuckers.
Let's see it.